And look, I want to return now to that landmark decision in the federal court last week, which saw transgender woman, biological male Roxanne Tickle, win the right to access an online community group set up by Queensland woman Sal Grover for women and girls only. I've had time now to carefully read through the 60-page judgment from Justice Robert Bromwich. I've done that, but I've also gone back to the Hansard debates in the federal parliament in 2013, where amendments were made to the Sex Discrimination Act that formed the basis of Bromwich's legal rationale. As I wrote in The Australian today, it was in the dying weeks of the Gillard government that Labor's then Attorney-General, now still Attorney-General, Mark Dreyfus, quickly and quietly upended the rights of Australian women. What was positioned as ending discrimination for LGBTIQ people actually ended up stealing hard-won gains for women and girls to have a room of their own. Now, this predicament is the outcome of Gillard-era changes to the Sex Discrimination Act to include, quote, gender identity as a ground of unlawful discrimination. And that's defined as, and I quote the Act here, the gender-related identity, appearance or mannerisms or other gender-related characteristics of a person, whether by way of medical intervention or not, with or without regard to the person's designated sex at birth. Now, given what we know now, those words should have rung an alarm bell at the time, but they didn't. In introducing the bill, the Attorney-General, Mark Dreyfus, well, he didn't elaborate at all about gender identity provisions. Perhaps he didn't want to draw attention to it and all the political ramifications. His second reading speech outlining the bill was a scant 410 words long. He claimed the bill was just about ensuring there was no discrimination against LGBTIQ people in accessing services like aged care. Yet, as it's now turned out, in yet another example of how well-intentioned change can have unintended consequences, this is the opening that's now been exploited by trans activists in their latest attempt to insist that biological males can actually be women when immutable scientific fact makes that impossible. When Sal Grover made the decision that trans woman and biological male Roxanne Tickle was ineligible to join her women's-only online community, Tickle took her to the Human Rights Commission. That complaint ended up in the federal court with the result on Friday that Grover was in the wrong. Justice Bromwich accepted submissions from the Sex Discrimination Commissioner that he described as propositions bounded in logic and long-standing authority. Now, when I read that line in his judgment, I thought to myself, what long-standing authority? A mere decade of law from Labor's Mark Dreyfus that's blurring the lines between male and female, or centuries and centuries of scientific fact that says biology is biology and that can't be changed. Said Justice Bromwich in his decision, sex can refer to a person being male, female or other non-binary status, and also encompasses the idea that a person's sex can be changed. It is sufficient, the judge said, that Ms Tickle is recorded as female on her updated Queensland birth certificate for her to be, at law, of the female sex. Now, hang on. Gender is a term that can change based on how an individual might want to identify. But it's always been the accepted biological position that sex is a matter of science. It's your DNA, it's your chromosomes, nothing at all to do with the clothes you wear or the name you might want to call yourself, even if you have surgery to remove your sex organs. Gender and sex are different, not according to Bromwich. In finding in Tickle's favour, the judge awarded him or her, beg your pardon, $10,000, but declined to award aggravated damages, conceding that what the word woman means is deeply contested. And there must be scope in which persons can put forward an argument where it is genuinely held. That's the whole point of this, isn't it? That the definition of a woman is indeed deeply, deeply contested between a vociferous and aggressive trans lobby and those who think that allowing biological males to claim to be women, to invade women's spaces, makes a mockery of female equality. In the real world, outside the courts, outside the parliament, there's furious division over what defines a woman. But at least as far as Justice Bromwich is concerned, the law is crystal clear. Now, did this come about because MPs debated the issue and decided that anyone who claims to be a woman is really a woman? Or because this was put openly before the voters, decided at an election or a referendum? Of course not. What we're now saddled with is something that's been insinuated into law by stealth. Sal Grover deserves to be supported to appeal this case. She has a crowdfunding support page. I'll show you that tonight. If you can help, I urge you to help, because we must put this matter beyond the reach of judicial activism. What's more, the Parliament should remake these laws to protect the rights of women and girls. Now, given Labor's position, this is now up to Peter Dutton and the Coalition to take this to the next election and restore the rights of women and girls to spaces of our own, based not only on common sense and decency, but simple biological fact.